General Hospital spoilers update for the week of June 8th. The drama is expected to continue to escalate. I cannot help but feel that we are standing on the edge of a massive emotional cliff right now, especially when we look at what is happening over at Turning Woods. Imagine the sheer, heart stopping shock Willow must experience when she walks through those doors, expecting to see a paralyzed, defeated man, only to find Brennan casually walking around as if nothing ever happened. It is the kind of image that burns itself into your memory, and I keep coming back to the idea that this single moment changes everything for her. For weeks, we have been led to believe that Brennan was incapacitated, but seeing him on his feet shatters that illusion instantly. It seems like Nina and Brennan realize in that split second that their elaborate charade is completely over, leaving them with absolutely no choice but to confess their secret alliance to Willow. But what truly fascinates me, and maybe I am overthinking this, is how Brennan manages to spin this catastrophic exposure into an advantage. There is a chance that Brennan uses this confession not as a white flag, but as a twisted olive branch to pull Willow into his web. He seemingly offers her a deal, something so compelling and perhaps so dangerously logical that Willow actually begins to trust him. If you ask me, this sudden shift in Willow's loyalty is deeply unsettling, especially since it looks like their new, unholy alliance is entirely focused on manipulating Drew. Speaking of Drew, something about his current situation does not sit right with me, and I have this lingering suspicion that he might be recovering far more than anyone realizes. We all know how these storylines love to play with our expectations, and there is a very strong rumor floating around that Scout is about to re enter the picture, noticeably older and much more aware of the world around her. I keep wondering if a newly aged up Scout is actually the one pulling the strings from the shadows to secretly save her father. How incredibly poetic would it be if, while Willow, Nina, and Brennan are busy plotting and scheming, Drew's own daughter is the silent guardian angel they never saw coming? It would be a brilliant twist, showing that the pure love of a child can outsmart the darkest manipulations of adults. I might be wrong, but I feel like Scout is going to be the ultimate wild card in this entire Drew manipulation storyline. Meanwhile, the tension surrounding Windermere is reaching a boiling point that I find genuinely terrifying. Carly is practically vibrating with frantic, maternal desperation to find Jocelyn, and we all know that when Carly sets her mind to something, she is like a runaway freight train. She is absolutely determined to storm the castle, but then Valentine steps into her path, desperately trying to warn her away from the looming danger. I cannot help but feel a pang of tragic irony here, because Valentine's protective instincts might just seal his own dark fate. It seems like he realizes he cannot simply talk Carly out of her reckless plan, so he makes the incredibly dangerous decision to go to Windermere in her place. There is a very real chance that by trying to save Carly from walking into a trap, Valentine ends up becoming the newest victim of whatever sinister forces are lurking in those Gothic halls. And what is happening inside those dark, cold walls of Windermere is enough to break anyone's heart, especially when we think about Liesel. Being held captive is horrific enough, but the psychological torture she is about to endure is on an entirely different level. Cassius steps out of the shadows and finally confesses to her that he is the secret twin brother of her beloved late son, Nathan. Just pause and imagine the sheer emotional whiplash Liesel must feel in that moment, staring into the face of a monster who wears the exact same features as her beautiful, lost boy. It is a cruel, agonizing twist of fate, and while Liesel is understandably desperate for answers, Cassius seems to be playing a cruel game of withholding the details. But maybe I am reading too much into this, or maybe Jocelyn, who is also trapped in that nightmare, will be the one to whisper the missing pieces of the puzzle to Liesel through the cold stone walls. I love the idea of Jocelyn and Liesel, two incredibly strong but vastly different women, forming a desperate alliance in the dark. It gives me hope that they will find a way to outsmart Cassius together. But while they are fighting for survival in the dark, a completely different kind of explosion is brewing back in the light of day at Portia's baby shower. Trina has been working herself to the bone trying to throw the perfect last-minute celebration for her mother, and you can see the toll it is taking on her. Kai is clearly worried sick about Trina, watching her run around trying to hold everything together, but I fear no amount of planning can stop the absolute disaster that is about to unfold. This shower is supposed to be a celebration of new life, but it feels like it is destined to become a tragic stage where long-buried secrets are violently dragged into the light. The heaviest, darkest secret of all belongs to Brooke Lynn, who has been suffocating under the guilt of that hit and run accident for what feels like an eternity. I keep coming back to the tragic romance of Brooklyn and Chase, and how utterly devastating it is going to be when the truth finally comes out. Chase is a man who believes in the law above all else, and there is a very strong possibility that he will be forced to pull out his handcuffs and arrest the woman he loves right in the middle of this crowded party. But if you ask me, the legal consequences might pale in comparison to the sheer, unbridled fury of Jordan. Jordan has been suffering in silence, and when she realizes that Brooklyn was the one who hit her and then cowardly drove away, the confrontation is going to be explosive. I can easily see a scenario where the emotional tension snaps and Jordan physically lashes out, perhaps even slapping Brooklyn across the face in front of all the horrified guests. The party could easily spiral into a full-blown tragedy, especially with Curtis and Isaiah caught right in the middle of the escalating chaos. The pressure of Portia's impending labor, combined with Curtis's desperate legal battles and the sudden exposure of Brooklyn's crime, creates a perfect storm that no one might walk away from unscathed. It is going to be a masterclass in daytime drama, and I am already bracing myself for the emotional fallout. As if all of this wasn't enough, we also have to talk about the absolute mess Lucas is making of his situation with Sidwell. Lucas is trying so hard to be the hero, setting an elaborate trap to finally take Sidwell down, but something tells me he is completely out of his depth. Sidwell is a seasoned, dangerous predator, and it seems highly likely that he will see right through Lucas's amateur hour scheme. When Sidwell turns the tables, I fear Lucas is going to face a brutal physical retaliation that he is entirely unprepared for. It makes me so anxious for the people caught in the crossfire, especially Christina, who is just trying to find a fresh start. She is finally packing her bags, ready to leave the chaos of Port Charles behind and head off to medical school, which should be a beautiful, triumphant moment for her. But we all know that being Sonny's daughter means you are never truly free from the shadows of the mob. I have this terrible sinking feeling that just as Christina is about to step into her bright new future, Sonny's ruthless enemies will use her as a pawn to strike at his heart. It is a heartbreaking reminder that in this town, happiness is often the most dangerous thing you can possess. Finally, I want to touch on a quieter but equally compelling mystery involving Ethan and Ava. Ethan is going to great lengths to cover up the fact that he is actually Phoebe's father, a secret that carries so much emotional weight. Ava, who knows a thing or two about the heavy burden of secrets, seems to be the only one who knows the truth, and she is actively warning Ethan about the consequences of his deception. Why is he so terrified of claiming his own child? What kind of danger or past trauma is he trying to shield Phoebe from by denying his own blood? It is a subtle storyline compared to the explosive drama elsewhere, but it tugs at my heartstrings because it is ultimately about a parent's flawed, desperate attempt to protect a child. Looking at all these moving pieces, from Windermere to Turning Woods, from a joyous baby shower to a bittersweet departure, I am left with so many lingering questions. How many lives will be shattered before the dust finally settles in Port Charles? I guess we will just have to keep watching, keep wondering, and keep hoping that our favorite characters can somehow find their way back to the light.